Hello.
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 You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Do you want to
Introduce yourself.
introduce yourself? Yeah.
Hello, I am Deanna Rodger. I am a poet and performer and a parent, which I think is important to note because it takes up the majority of my time. And I've got a pamphlet of poems that were written in form coming out at the end of 2021. And I've just finished working on the writing room with Apples and Snakes.
Amazing. So Deanna, you mentioned it there. You mentioned a few things. I'm going to try and touch on a couple of those. We just have the first one being, the last thing you said, being that you've just finished working on the writing room. You've been the lead tutor for the writing room programme. I believe that the showcase is online. People can watch it. It might even be just linked in the bio. We don't know. So you were also part of the selection process.
Yeah.
We had a long selection process we were both involved in. We had around 250 applicants.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We brought that down to 22.
Yeah, how?
Yeah. So I think my question is, which is probably going to be useful for lots of people. When you were looking at the applications, what was it that you were looking at first? How did you pick the people that you thought were the ones that deserved to be part of the course?
So I looked at everyone's date of birth and saw what star sign they were. Jokes aside, there was a lot of people, and so it suddenly became very apparent when I started watching the videos and stuff that actually what was going to be most important, especially in a program such as the writing room, which is really about development and community and kind of a focused space to reflect on practice and take that forward, was to look at people's whys. So the reasoning as to why they wanted to be there, what they wanted to learn, whether they knew what they were getting into, because sometimes we see opportunities and we think, oh yes, and don't actually really take the time to research what that opportunity is, who's leading it, what their background and what their expertise is, because I really wanted to ensure that I could fulfill what people wanted and expected from the course. So if someone's looking for a page poet to lead them, then you probably should have Googled me. And so, and also, and that being serious in terms of like, have you done your research and looked up these people so that you're aligning yourself with what they can offer. And I think it's just a sign of respect. And so that was the first step. And then looking at the quality of work that was there out of that kind of short list after reading everyone's whys, and that kind of, and I guess it's because poetry is so subjective and it comes in so many different shapes and forms, and some were video, some were audio files, some were written poetry, some poems were attached to websites so you could kind of see what they were up to, and so the why came first and center. For me, looking at these applications, I needed to know that the person wanted to connect with this opportunity, not just kind of the poet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I think that there's something really interesting about that, about looking at the reason why they want to be part of the course or what they hope to get from the opportunity before looking at the quality of the work.
Yeah, because you get bogged down, like not bogged down as in the best way possible. I'm a poet. I love reading. I love watching and listening. Like, it's so exciting. But then I'm like, this isn't a slam. Like, I'm not judging a slam, and I could have a bunch of brilliant poets of whose poems I thought were banging, but if they're not there to actually put in the time and contribute as well as take, then it's going to be an awful time for everyone involved. So yeah, the whys really was for me really important.
Brilliant. Is that something that you, when you're applying for things, is that something that you think about as well? Do you try and put the focus in the quality? Do you try and put the focus in your what you're hoping to do?
Yeah, I hope so. And this is a great opportunity to say, yeah, I apply for things and I put myself out there and I apply for funding and opportunities. And I don't think you should ever stop doing that, no matter how prolific you become. And because then you're in charge of the direction of your career rather than being led by having to say yes to everything and anything. And it's a lot of work. And yeah, so I hope that I do. I mean, sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. But definitely connecting into the why. I also think kind of funding applications and applications generally are so much work that if you don't know why you're doing it, it's going to be disorientating and stressful and boring. And so, yeah, why are you doing it? What do you want to change? What do you want to enhance in your own practice? What have you identified? What's the need you've identified, and why are you the person to fill it? And so in the answering of all of those questions, you get to promote yourself and be like, look, I'm really good at this, I've got to this position, and I've been able to see this need, and so I can fill it because I've got this expertise, I've got this network. But yeah, so I think I do try to, I'm always trying to warp my way into like being very clear as to why this project has to happen now and why I have to be the person to lead it. And yeah, and then it's luck of the draw in terms of like what other applications are in there and who's looking at it and whether do you know what I mean? But I think being able to stand by your application and be like, do you know what, this is an idea I'm going to push forward regardless of whether it gets funding or not, means that you've got a strong why and means that you've got an energy for your ideas and for that thing that you think needs to be in the world.
Nice. And do you think that's kind of true of any application process? Do you think it's about trying to find where you are a good fit? So if people are trying to submit to magazines, if you're trying to get your show in a theatre, if you're trying to be on a bill of an event, if you're trying to get a particular commission.
Like, and this goes back to research, like just research and like research what those magazines do, research what the funders interested in, research where their interests are aligned, which can vary from like year to year. They'll have like a 5-year or 10-year plan. Like you should know that so that the language you're using to demonstrate your ideas in line with that. And also if it can't fall in line with that, then they're not the right funder for your idea. So yeah, I think it boils down to investing your time into understanding what other people want to support, because funding and applications and opportunities like this, there's space. People want to support other people. And so you're just trying to demonstrate the fit of the puzzle piece. And obviously sometimes there is, in kind of instances, like momentary instances, not enough spaces or not enough money, but then you can still reapply. And I think it's really about building and maintaining those relationships, and even if it's a no, to trust that no, I think, and just be like, have your moment where you're like, whatever, you don't know anything, and then to trust it. They know what they're doing, they know what they're looking for, and how can you, if you truly believe that you should be there, how can you align yourself with their values in order to be there? And so trust them, keep that relationship, keep in communication.
What I think was really interesting in that is when you're saying about trusting the no, that sometimes you apply for things and you get told, actually, no, you're not the person we're looking for this project. But that doesn't mean that your work isn't good. That doesn't mean that your ideas aren't good or your poetry isn't good.
Yeah.
But just that you weren't the right fit for that opportunity in that moment.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we all could like benefit from remembering.
Yeah, and use it as an energy. Like if you really want it, you're gonna just kind of bounce back, you know. And it's cultivating a resilience, especially in art careers, creative careers. You've got to cultivate a resilience, and that's an ongoing practice to keep mining away at, keep figuring out how can I bounce back and full and whole. If you're feeling a bit flat, why? What do you need to put into your life or take away from your life, you know? And I think, cultivating resilience for applying for things, for working in collaboration with people, like it's just a great thing to have, because then you're you're centered and you're open to working with people and putting yourself out there and your ideas out there, because you know that you can always bounce back with more energy, gusto.
All right, Dee, that's all my questions.
Oh no, it's so short.
But then to follow up from that, can you set us a writing exercise?
Yeah, sure. I thought you were going to ask me what I'm reading.
I know sometimes we ask what you're reading. Okay, what are you reading? What are you reading at the minute?
Well, I'm really excited by it. It's a book called Trick Mirror by Gia Tolentino, and they're a series of essays on self-delusion.
Oh, nice.
They're really good.
Nice. I've been reading Art and Fear, which is I think has got a similar.
Yeah. Just stare at that dark space. Don't even stare at it. Dive into it. And
so come with your writing exercise.
Writing exercise. So, as I mentioned at the top of this interview, I'm a parent, which often means that I'm extraordinarily. My time is extraordinarily taxed in ways I still can't figure out how. But and so my exercise is for you to set a timer of 7 minutes and write a list of 20 things you did yesterday, and then reset that timer and write a list of 20 things you will do tomorrow. And then once you've got your 2 lists, you can either leave them as they are, of course, or you can look at how you can make the items on each list more absurd, or ridiculous, or kind of interesting. That's such a rubbish word to use in poetry. Make your poetry interesting. And so, for instance, instead of saying I had lunch with the kids, I might change that to I sat on top of a lamppost eating nuggets with seagulls, because my children are like seagulls. And so play with that, make each of them as absurd, leave some of them really plain and banal, like made a cup of tea, and see what the texture is of each of those lists, see whether you want to combine them, but also use them as opportunities to see how much you achieve and how much you will achieve. So a little bit of a confidence boost. That's my activity.
Deanna Rodger, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to work with you.
You too. We'll see you again.
Peace out. A down.